Thanks, Stafford. Good luck.
Okay. Hello, and welcome to this breakfast briefing. My name's Stafford Slater, and I lead the Network and Security practice for C5. Today, I'll be providing a short presentation on the importance of securing your data in the cloud. The objective of this presentation is to give you an overview of some of the considerations and challenges in securing your data in a cloud environment. Many organizations are implementing digital transformation strategies and migrating to cloud-based services. This has radically changed the way computing services are consumed. How data is stored, secured, and accessed should be at the forefront of businesses' decision-making processes. There are three types of cloud deployment: public cloud, which provides shared resources for its tenants and is typically self-service, such as Azure, AWS, and our own island cloud. Private cloud, which is deployed and managed for a single tenant, and hybrid cloud, which leverages the ability to migrate workloads between private and public clouds. Public cloud computing provides businesses with significant advantages over private cloud and on-premise infrastructure. Customers usually rent resources such as software, applications, platforms, or servers, which are running on platforms owned and operated by cloud service providers. Cloud customers generally pay for services that they consume on a pay-as-you-go basis and can scale automatically, both horizontally or vertically, based on their needs. They benefit from better disaster recovery, easier access to data from multiple locations, and don't require expensive computer rooms and data centers, and all of the associated costs such as cooling, power, UPS, maintenance, etc. On the other hand, public cloud platforms are platforms that are shared between multiple customers. These customers could be competitors, hackers, or criminal organizations. Their behaviors or misconfigurations within the cloud environment may have an impact on your data security. Protecting and securing your data, which can include sensitive information about your company's finances, client information, staff data, and more, is essential. The confidentiality, integrity, and availability of your company and client data should be at the forefront of any decision-making process. Typically, security and compliance risks are always one of the top obstacles to public cloud adoption. When it comes to security in a public cloud, it's important to appreciate shared responsibility model. There are three typical cloud service offerings: infrastructure as a service, where you outsource virtualization, resources, and networking; platform as a service, where you can include the core operating system components, such as virtualization, resources, and networking; and software as a service, where you consume only the application. Examples of this are such as Salesforce, Microsoft Office 365, and many other online SaaS providers. Depending on the cloud services that a cloud service customer consumes, be it infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, or software as a service, or a combination of all three, there is a shared responsibility for security with the cloud service provider. But security, governance, risk and compliance, and data security will always remain the responsibility of the cloud service customer and not the cloud service provider. For each aspect of security, be it physical, infrastructure, platform, application, data, or governance, risk and compliance, there is due diligence, process, and technical controls that the cloud service customer should check and or implement to mitigate against some of the risks to their data security. For infrastructure as a service, the shared responsibility is at the infrastructure layer. For platform as a service, it exists at the platform layer. And for SaaS services, it exists at the application layer. Before you implement a cloud solution, you should clearly understand the scope of your security responsibility and that of the cloud service provider. This could be as simple as creating a Reiki matrix of security responsibility and then ensuring it's documented and shared with the relevant members of your organization. Security risks can be categorized into concerns faced by the cloud service provider and those faced by the cloud service customer. Some of the commonly seen cloud computing security risks are hijacking of accounts through insecure password management and lack of two-factor authentication, malware infections, having ineffective endpoint protection or out-of-date antivirus, vulnerability exploits through lack of a robust vulnerability and patch management program, abuse of cloud services, the potential impact through misuse of the cloud service by a third party, insider threat from malicious intent from either disgruntled or financially incentivized staff, permanent data loss caused by hardware failures or insufficient data backup strategies, and leakage of sensitive data by cloud provider, your app developers or client misconfigurations, and violation of regulatory controls. Most companies operate under some form of regulatory control and need to know where their data is, who is able to access it, and how it's being protected. Five common causes of compromised data security within cloud. Phishing. A huge number of security breaches happen because an employee provides the credentials required to access sensitive information. Educating employees about common phishing attempts and encouraging them to always check with a manager or their IT team before providing information should be a priority in any security awareness program. Weak passwords, weak or stolen credentials are right up there next to phishing attempts. By updating your company's password policies to latest standards and having employees switch from passwords to passphrases, you can eliminate the temptation of employees to make passwords some version of password 123 or one day 123. Applications can feature technical vulnerabilities that make them potential access points ripe for exploitation. Updating applications regularly to ensure security patches are applied can reduce the risk of a hack originating from an application. You may also need to monitor BYOD devices. If employee devices are used for work, then you need to ensure that they aren't running outdated applications that could permit access to their device and therefore to your data if it exists on that device. Insider threats. A disgruntled employee who's terminated but still has access is one of the most dangerous threats to your data integrity. Ensure that every employee who leaves the business is put through a complete and thorough exit process that includes stripping of all credentials, both virtual and physical, and this may include key cards, USB drives, and other items that could store data or encryption keys. And then user error. Any employee, even a CEO, can unwittingly be the cause of a data breach. An act as innocent as hitting the wrong autocomplete field, and including an unauthorized person in the CC of an email can be a way into an organization, putting your data at risk. Uploading a document to the wrong folder or losing an internet connected device such as a laptop, tablet or smartphone can also be an invitation to a data breach. Any one of the previous risks can lead to a violation of regulatory or legal compliance. If your business operates in an industry that is regulated or you handle personally identifiable information, such as credit card numbers, social security numbers or passwords, a breach of your systems could not only lead to hackers accessing client-side accounts, but also lead to significant financial penalties under GDPR law or from regulatory bodies. The current largest fine issued to date for a breach was to British Airways, and that totaled £183.39 million. This may soon be eclipsed by an upcoming fine for international retailer H&M. This is for spying on their employees, collecting personal data, health records, and details about private family situations. This breach under GDPR law could be a maximum fine of 4% of the company's annual turnover, which is estimated about €22 billion for H&M. Even more recently in the news, EasyJet have reported a breach involving 9 million of their customer travel records. So, what can be done to ensure the security of your data and mitigate some of the risks involved with cloud services? Effective security in the cloud requires a strategy that reflects the current threat environment and the nature of the cloud platform that's hosting your data. A clear strategy focuses the effort of all teams involved to provide a secure and sustainable cloud environment. There are multiple frameworks in place to assist businesses in cloud adoption. As previously covered in our last webinar, one frequently in use with our clients is the Microsoft Cloud Adoption Framework. Following these types of frameworks will ensure you address business goals and objectives whilst maintaining a risk-assessed approach to your data security. In addition to meeting regulatory and compliance requirements, security challenges can be addressed by focusing in 3 key areas: people, processes, and technology. Research shows that employees often are the root cause of security breaches. All employees should participate in at least annual cybersecurity awareness training. The risks and consequences of a data breach should be fully covered, along with guidance for device usage, data access protocols, password policies, and 2-factor authentication. If your cloud infrastructure is managed internally, you need to equip your staff with the right level of education, training, and tools needed to manage that environment. Make sure employees understand your internal policies in case of a breach and their ramifications, which, if due to gross negligence, may range from disciplinary action, termination, or even potential prosecution. Executive level cooperation is required from the top down. Compliance at all levels of your company. Everyone with data access should be aware of and engaging in security best practices, and C-suite should be leading the way. Processes. So, due diligence and awareness. You need to be aware of your company data. Ensure it is identified and classified. Understand your sensitive data exposure and define your protection policies. Additionally, determine who will ultimately be responsible for that data and what the consequences would be if it fell into the wrong hands. Remember, your company will take the hit if there is a breach, regardless of whether the vulnerability is on your side or that of the cloud service provider. Any external cloud service provider on your shortlist should be recommended by peers and knowledgeable within your industry, and should be open and transparent with you on their internal security controls and processes. Look for a tailored approach rather than one size fits all, and consider how your needs and volume may change over time. Vet startups carefully. Not all startups can continue to deliver the desired results as you scale your company. Ask your chosen cloud service provider what security controls they have in place around people, process, and technology, and be sure that your cloud storage provider can silo different client data. Your provider's plan of defense and method of mitigation and support in the event of a breach should be transparent and well documented. A worst case scenario should be that in the event of a breach, multiple fail-safes and alarms are immediately set off, alerting to an intrusion or risk of exploitation, as well as an immediate lockdown that happens before data can be extracted or encrypted. Also, importantly, ask for details of their offboarding processes and the sanitization of your data once you have left their environment. With technology, use security tools to help identify any gaps in security measures that you can address on your side. Security is always a shared responsibility between the cloud service provider and cloud service customer. That means you have to be prepared to up your game when moving on-premise infrastructure to the cloud. Secure access to your data via an appropriate firewall with advanced functionality such as intrusion detection systems and web application firewall. As a minimum, carry out vulnerability scanning or penetration testing annually if you have infrastructure as service or platform as service, that is, to ensure services deployed are secure. Ensure correct logging is enabled and adequate log collection is taking place. Ideally, implement some form of security incident event monitoring tool, and critically, infrastructure is monitored 24/7, 365. Hacking is a 24/7 operation, whilst invariably the majority of businesses aren't. This is not only preventative, but also required post-breach to aid with recovery and an analysis of what happened and how it happened. You also need to secure end-user devices as well as your servers. Even with the best cloud-based data security, the majority of breaches come through user error. All devices that access your cloud-based resources should be, as a minimum, have up-to-date antivirus software, but preferably have some form of advanced endpoint security as endpoint protection or endpoint detection response software installed. Implement robust vulnerability management and patch management programs. It's really not enough just to carry out a vulnerability scan or penetration testing annually. Software's application and configurations changes continually over time, and you need to monitor this and ensure that all of your operating systems and applications are patched up to the latest security level. You need to protect your data through its entire life cycle. At rest, even if your cloud service provider uses encryption, you still should implement in your infrastructure comprehensive encryption at the file level. This will form the foundation of all of your cloud security efforts. Using a comprehensive encryption method on your data before uploading it to the cloud adds another layer of protection. You can also institute sharding to further break up and segment data, which is storing fragments in different locations, thereby making it difficult for hackers to then reassemble an entire file in the event of a successful breach. Data in transit. Protecting your data in transit should be an essential part of your data protection strategy. As data is constantly moved back and forth across locations, secure cryptographic protocols such as TLS, transport layer security, should be used to exchange data between these locations. In some circumstances, you might want to isolate the entire communication channel between your on-prem and cloud infrastructure, and you can do this by using a secure VPN. And with your data in use, now you're able to use encryption mechanisms and securing a portion of the processor and memory in a trusted execution environment or an enclave, and you then only authorized code is permitted to run and access that data. You'll need to define clear policies about who can access what data and from where. You should be able to monitor and report from bird's eye level, ensuring employees are only accessing data necessary for them to perform their duties. In the event of a breach, you should have an incident recovery plan with clearly defined escalation and communication policies set out in it. strong authentication. Use smart protection policies and risk assessments to block threats. 81% of breaches leverage from stolen or weak passwords. The age of the annoying, complicated, and easy to bypass password guidelines has ended. The National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST, now recommends using passphrases over passwords that require a capital letter, lowercase letter, a number, and a special symbol. Instituting this type of individual security leads to better compliance on an employee level, the most common access point for hackers. Also, multi-factor authentication. Enhance personal security by enforcing two-factor authentication on all SaaS-based applications and anywhere that is possible. It should really have a two-factor authentication first approach to access to everything. This process adds a step to each login method requiring a password, more than doubling your protection. It forces those seeking sensitive data access to enter their password in addition to a single-use security code sent to their device before permitting secure login. Implementing multi-factor authentication prevents 99.9% of identity attacks. So, how can we help? Cloud services have rapidly become one of the top choices for businesses' data storage due to many benefits such as cost savings, scalability, and speed to deploy. Any upside can quickly be wiped out if data is exposed. Having proper security protocols for protecting and securing your data in the cloud must be a discussion that occurs long before a shift to the cloud occurs. BDO and C5 can help you at any stage of this journey, whether you're just starting out your digital transformation or you have a fully functional cloud environment. As part of the BDO group, we follow a lifecycle approach of advise, transform, run, providing our customers with an end-to-end solution. Our colleagues at BDO Advisory provide consulting services covering areas such as risk, GDPR, data governance, and cybersecurity. The C5 professional services team transforms technology solutions through several practices with highly skilled and trained individuals, covering a broad range of technology and services. Finally, the C5 managed services team provide a 24/7, 365 service desk for management, monitoring, and alerting of your critical business infrastructure. We also offer security and health checks across various technologies. Obviously, during the recent COVID situation, a lot of solutions have been rapidly deployed, and we can provide health checks to validate the security and integrity of those services implemented across remote access services, BYOD, collaboration such as Teams and Microsoft 365. So, thank you. That's all I've got to say, and if there's any questions, I'll be happy to try and answer them. Okay, thank you very much for your time and for listening to this webinar. Thanks, bye.